Okay, guys, you voted, and a resounding 54% of you wanted to watch this video. That's how many. It looks like it'll be an interesting watch. Somebody recommended it to me too, I think in the Discord. So, yeah, let's give it a watch. It's iDubbbz talks to Anthony Padilla, and it's called iDubbbz Addresses Controversial Past. I spent a day with iDubbbz. Let's get going.
I had a few human beings that I interacted with.
In person?
Yeah, in person, that just sucked. Yeah. They just sucked because I attracted a lot of people who suck.
Damn. True.
What do you think happens when one of the most controversial and cynical figures on YouTube reevaluates their entire life? And why has he never talked about the things that happened in his childhood before?
What?
I'm Anthony Padilla, and I spent a day with iDubbbz to find out.
Oh,
hello,
goodness.
Ian.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I didn't know that's what you were doing.
I know, it was either I was going to attack you or I was going to shake your hand.
Right.
I'm glad you trusted me, though.
What?
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/Padilla.
I thought BetterHelp got canceled or something. Am I wrong about that? Didn't they weren't they doing something weird? Maybe I'm just wrong. I guess I'm operating with incomplete information.
Because sometimes existing is exhausting. And if you want to watch this episode without all the censorship and completely ad-free, that means absolutely no sponsors, click the join button down below to become a member. Members are going to get a lot of really sick stuff very soon.
Cool.
Anyway, can you believe that you're one of the most controversial figures I've ever had on this show?
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That seems kind of weird. Like, it just feels like you don't talk to very controversial people. Because I know iDubbbz has had a controversial past, but I feel like he's not that controversial. Like, he was edgy when it was acceptable to be edgy, and now he's not. Like, I don't know if he's necessarily like a super controversial guy. You know, I just feel like you haven't talked to a lot of controversial people before. I mean, maybe I'm just wrong, but it's an Anthony Padilla show. Like, who's the second most controversial person you've ever had on the show? Like, old Barack Obama. Who's been on the show? I don't even know.
I mean, you've had furries.
I've had Mia Khalifa, who was kind of controversial in her own way. Flat Earthers. I think you might be more controversial than Flat Earthers.
That could be.
Why are you so controversial?
Ah, man.
Like
I think it's like a lot of unregulated confidence.
You have unregulated confidence?
Yeah, I think I have in the past. I've toned it down a bit.
So is that a good thing?
Oh, yeah, of course. You got to pick and choose what you're confident about, right?
But you go through a filter process of this might be a dumb idea now?
Yeah, that's how the human brain works, I think.
That's just getting older. It's like when you grow like more of a conscience, you know, you feel bad about stuff that you do. You know, it is what it is, bro. Is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I understand kind of like the fundamentals, because I know I used to be edgier on TikTok and stuff, and I think part of it's that like I don't regret being edgy necessarily. But it's unfortunate that you attract really edgy people who have it's so interesting. Like, I used to I still do make some edgy jokes, but people would have the worst intentions of it back then, because, you know, I'm making edgy jokes in like a 15-second video, and so pretty much the whole content is the edgy joke, and so people are left to interpret it in one of two ways: either how I interpret it, which is I'm just an edgy guy making some fun, or as in the way of it actually being bigoted in some capacity. And the people who interpret it as bigoted are either people who like being bigoted, or they don't like being bigoted, so they won't like you, right? And so, like, you'll get a lot of people who will support like a take, and you think it's because like you're just being a reasonable, level-headed guy and like a little edgy, but just having fun. Turns out some of them might use it to be hateful, unfortunately. And after you realize that, you start going like, "Damn, that's not what I wanted from this interaction," you know. It's just unfortunate, you know. And then you kind of you're like, darn. And then you kind of just like grow up and you want to change a little bit, you know? And young, edgy men, God bless them, they're ride or dies. And so they might be a little more toxic to other people. It's an interesting thing, you know, like everybody can be edgy, but like young edge or everybody can, or I don't know, something's very particular about young, very edgy men, where they can be a little bit toxic and they might bully people a lot. And if they're your audience, sometimes you can interpret their support for being correct, when sometimes maybe they're just like super duper toxic and you're not necessarily correct. Now I get more people disagreeing with my takes in my comments, but in like a healthy, intelligent way, rather than like everybody just like, no, he's always right, or I'm like shitting and coming, you know?
Not everyone.
A healthy brain?
The people commenting right now, some of them, they don't have a filter.
Yeah, but they should refine that filter. They should build upon it.
So when I first asked you to be on the show like a year ago, you said that you were in a transitional point in your YouTube career.
Yeah. Before, when you messaged me,
yeah,
I was simply a keyboard warrior. I would record videos in my room primarily about other people.
Yeah.
I would be critical a lot of the time. That's where I guess sort of got some of my notoriety from, because it's very easy to do. You sit on your computer, you watch a ton of. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
Oh, cuss a ton, please.
Okay, cool. It's not gonna be bleeped though, is it?
It's gonna be bleeped, but then there's gonna be a version for members only that was unbleeped.
Awesome. Okay, I made a video about Keemstar, and it was very well-deserved criticism, and it was like no one was doing that. I was like, this guy's a complete asshole.
No one was criticizing Keemstar?
No.
It's interesting because I feel like if iDubbbz was kind of like around in the same way doing the same content, he would have like shit on Sneeko. Like I was saying that before in another segment, which would be interesting. It's probably something that the world needs a little bit, you know? Well, not anymore, but Destiny already did it, but you know what I'm saying?
I think everyone in the world has beef with him.
Oh yeah,
I have beef with him.
At this point,
Yeah,
sure. But
everyone.
at the time, no one was doing it. I just got like fed up with it, and I was just like, I should make a video about this guy. And a lot of people, I think, for them, it was like relatable and also a little bit cathartic to be like, oh, finally, someone's talking about the shit that I've been seeing him do for the longest time. Like this, feels a little good, and I think it's valid. I think there's totally a place for it. I've sort of just personally, I think, outgrown it. And during that time, I was like, a year ago when you asked me, I was like, well, I'm doing this boxing match. I'm not going to be chatting shit at anyone really. I'm just going to have to fight in the ring.
Right.
Put it all out there. And, we'll see what happens. That was sort of the transitional period. I was probably like more unhappy with my experience at the time making these types of videos because I didn't really have much like a community or like a friend group. I did have a friend group in the form of Max Mofo, Filthy Frank, Chad, How To Basic. Those guys were all great too.
That's a lot of friends, bro. Damn, I don't have any friends, bro. Nah, I got my wife. I only love my wife, my bed. I fucking butchered this joke. Sorry, let me just move on.
To hang out with and make videos with. And that was probably the most like fun part of my experience on YouTube was hanging out with those guys. And I would probably keep going in that path if not for, us all living in like different continents. I think generally it was just kind of like wanting a little bit more, something was a little bit more rewarding, fulfilling. So that's kind of why I like started to move away from it.
And you've said that anyone who focuses their entire career on making edgy content, edgy jokes, eventually finds themselves wanting to do something more fulfilling with their lives.
Totally.
What is the fulfilling thing?
I think generally probably. Like I feel a similar way. I still like to make edgy jokes, but like like just making 15-second edgy TikTok jokes isn't that fun, especially when some of them can be like a little bit of lowbrow, So I still enjoy like the edginess and putting it out there, but it's not as fulfilling to just make like silly 15-second like edgy jokes. Now I have such a super fulfilling career of watching YouTube videos about YouTube drama. So, obviously, yeah, there you go. I guess the fulfilling thing is probably that he does charity work now, which is cool.
I don't know, making things that are rewarding in more than one aspect. I really like, I've been enjoying making projects, like arts and crafts. I made this like fidget toy.
Yeah,
you pop
Thanos' colorful zits.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was so much fun to do. I have a ton of other ideas like that, but it's not the reason people started following my channel. I think when I would make like a content cop video, for example, it would be like, a month of work or something like that. And I would grind on this video. I'd write, interesting points or whatever, write some sketches. It was just like anticipation for the day that I'm going to upload it. And I upload it. And for those 24 hours, it's like, oh, cool. There's a lot of comments. The video's circulating a lot.
It's like a dopamine rush.
Yeah, it's a big rush. It's a big hit.
Yeah.
You'll have other creators messaging you saying like, oh, this is so awesome. I've been wanting to have someone make a video about Keemstar for ages. That guy's such an asshole. And it feels good and rewarding for like 24, 48 hours. And then it's kind of like, all right, like that really didn't do much of anything. It's not like you impacted the world in any sort of way. Keemstar's still doing, what he's doing. It's just like entertainment. It's kind of like a similar impact to like bad reality TV where it's like, that was entertaining.
But it's disposable.
Yeah.
In your joke police video, you said, hey, dumbass, you did something stupid in the past. You could be criticized for it. So do you welcome that same kind of criticism back at you?
I can respect it because I've been kind of thinking about like, because obviously, like, a lot of what I do on here, like, there are some times where, like, I'll post a video that I find is important. Like, I'll have, like, a conversation about, like, the R slur and stuff and creating, like, a more acceptable atmosphere. And that means something to me because, like, I'm more of an advocate. Like, I try to be an advocate against people using that word and shit like that. But, like, most of the content is just kind of, like, me fucking around. There's times where there's, like, really serious, important conversations to have. But, like, most of the content is me just, like, sticking around having fun. And I actually enjoy that. I don't want to always have a serious conversation. But I've been thinking lately of, like, oh, maybe there's something a little bit more... maybe there's something that could be a little bit more meaningful that I make, and I've been just like trying to think like what could it be, like what would it be, and like I've been kind of considering like doing possibly like a political thing, you know, but because I used to talk more about politics, and I think that there's like stuff that's really is important. You know, right now the discourse is mostly around like fucking trans people for whatever reason, like shit that doesn't really matter that much. And we still talk about it, of course. Some of it does matter. Like obviously we shouldn't be creating bully spaces, but like there's real shit that we should be talking about. Like, you know, you have like actual conversations about like real shit that we're kind of looking past and nobody really cares about. And I haven't really like put myself in a space where I've been like as politically engaged or intelligent on them in like a long time. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should kind of get back into that. You know, just trying to figure out what the fuck I should do. I wouldn't do this on this channel. I would have like a separate thing, but I don't know. It's all just in like a, it's just all in like consideration. Nothing crazy yet. Nothing really fleshed out. But say out of politics, why would I've literally started with politics. So, but anyway, yeah, you know, something a little more meaningful, something that matters a little bit more, like decent conversations. But we'll see.
Totally, yeah. I think it's valid. Just like I guess like Keemstar, Jinx, or whoever I made videos about, you know, they're completely valid in saying, you know, like it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. Not that Keemstar's ever said that.
That would be very vulnerable.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be nice if he did for sure.
Have you felt the need to apologize to anyone that you talk shit to in your videos?
There have been some moments where it was made very real to me that I am making an impact in the world, and it's not always positive. After the Fine Brothers situation with you know, them making React something, I sort of jumped on the bandwagon, and I regret doing it because I didn't really have much to contribute to the conversation. I don't know, it was in pretty bad taste. It was just like, you know, I was saying either the same shit that anyone else was saying or just generally making fun of them. I'm sure it was entertaining for, you know, some people, so mission accomplished on that front. But when I go to VidCon and the Fine Bros are there, it's kind of like, yeah, hey man, no hard feelings, right? It's shitty.
I actually felt the need to apologize to a very popular creator.
Well, weren't they trying to like take over like YouTube reactions and like put their name on everything or something in like a shitty way? Right? Isn't that what they were doing?
That I talked shit to online publicly in a video recently.
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. There was, you know, the time period of 2017, 2018 where it was so popular to make videos criticizing people. So I spent a day with Jake Paulers, and I was like, I'm going to bring in his fans and kind of ask them questions about why they like him. And, you know, I kind of got the point across where it was like, they liked him because he was obnoxious, I guess, and they didn't really know why otherwise. And that was kind of the point of it. And I remember, you know, I released it, and I was kind of trying to prod a little bit. So I put this little clip on Twitter and tagged him in it. And my girlfriend at the time was like, yeah, but what was the point of it? And I was like, to show that I couldn't think of anything because it was like, people already talk shit. Yeah. What am I contributing to this? He got super pissed about it, and he DM'd me and called me an imbecile, and he went on.
That's like the weird thing about putting up like clips and stuff, because I've been trying to like, you know, figure out how I want to engage a clip work. And because I don't want to be like an intentional provocateur. Like I really enjoy having like doing commentary and stuff, but I like to be funny. Like that's not like the main goal always, but that's part of like my thing. And as I pull people in, I like to do it in like a funny way. Like the call outs are so cringe. And I feel like there's a difference between making content criticizing somebody versus like calling them out, if that makes sense. I don't know if people necessarily have like a huge separation on those two things. And so like to put up a video or something, it's not trying to be a call out. It's more just trying to like be a little bit of a silly goose. Keep working on it. You'll be funny someday. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're really nice.
His brother's podcast, Logan's podcast, and pulled up the clip, and he talked shit about me back.
I don't want to just like be another like Anthony Padilla that was like on Smosh. It's an angst of someone who once was becoming irrelevant and being angry that the new generation is being received more than themselves.
That was kind of a rush too. It was like, ooh, we're both talking shit about each other. And that kind of just sat with me for a while, where I was like, that actually didn't feel that good. So I reached out to him recently, and I finally responded to him. It's like 5 years later, and I was like,
now you reached out to him when he's like doing all the fucking weird like scammy shit? Interesting.
Hey, sorry, you know, I was coming from a point where I was really lost. I had left Smosh. I didn't know what to do with myself and my career, and it was really popular to commentate and talk shit about people. You were just right there front and center of everyone talking shit about you, and I felt like, you know, that was my thing, was to contribute in that way. And he actually responded, and he was like, hey man, no hard feelings, I get it. You know, we can all grow from things that we did and said in our past. It was so amicable in a way. I felt this release of tension that I didn't know I was holding in the back of my head, of this kind of guilt of just randomly punching down.
Yeah.
And
Punching
overall,
down.
would highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it makes a difference to be very vulnerable with people, and I think that's kind of like what maybe a lot of like commentary channels. That's
Shit.
certainly something that I was like,
Right now.
you know, having a hard time with, like being vulnerable. Even this like interview is
This
like
is such a
very.
bad run.
It's still difficult for me to do because I'm like, I don't want to talk about my life.
Well, yeah, when you're vulnerable on the internet, people just make fun of you. It's funny. Like, you just have to stop. You have to just kind of not care, you know? Because more people make fun of you when you're vulnerable, especially if you're in an edgier space. But then also people, like, depending on how you're vulnerable, people may respect you more. Wow, I'm just taking licks like a fucking Tootsie Pop over here. You hearing this? Depending on how you're vulnerable, because there are some people who are just like unnecessarily cry over dumb shit, right? And people don't respect that vulnerability. But depending on how you're vulnerable, like, people might respect you more and be like, oh wow, like that was a really like cool thing that you did to open up in some capacity. So
Life, my personal life, that's less to do with. I would say it's just more of like a content strategy or like being online strategy.
Do you think that came from talking shit about others? You didn't want to be a target yourself, and you didn't give them any ammunition?
Of course, and that made a huge difference. I would say that
that thing's in a tree.
you know, a lot of people who wanted to chat shit back, it's like, yeah, you can't really say too much. You know, this interview is an example of that. It's like plenty of people can reference it and be like, oh, see, you said this here. What about that? And, you know, I'm at the point in my life where I'm fine with it. Plenty of it is like, you know, well-deserved. Like, you know, if I'm going to put some negativity out in the world, like, it's very understandable that I would have it come back. Another thing that ended up kind of guiding the path a little bit, I did not like the interactions that I had with fans. There were quite a few human beings that I interacted with.
In person?
Yeah, in person, that just sucked. They just sucked because I attracted a lot of people who sucked. Some people, as I described earlier, were very much like antisocial, weird, basement dwellers. And, you know, the one time a month that they come out of their cave is going to restock on supplies at Walmart.
That seems kind of mean. Like, oh yeah, these weird antisocial people. I'm like, what's wrong with being? Bro, come on. Oh, sorry. Like, it's okay to be weird antisocial. I think he's trying to say that they're like bad in some capacity, but just being a weird antisocial basement dweller, like, I feel bad for people like that. Like, I think we've all been there in some capacity in our life. Like, you know what I mean? If I had those fans, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if they're like a little too edgy, I'd be like, yeah, I didn't like it because they were. If he was saying that, that's fine. But like, just no love for the basement dwellers, dude. Where else do you go piss? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And they run into me, their favorite YouTuber.
Which is kind of the lifestyle you were living at the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I don't blame them.
And what would they say? What would they do?
Things that I am certainly not going to repeat. I'm talking bad words, cringy behavior that, like, maybe I'd do in a video because I got a camera pointed at me. There'd be some of that energy matched in person, and it's like, oh, maybe not.
So when you were on camera doing it, you felt like it was just for comedy, for entertainment?
Yeah, I mean, generally, yeah. And then, you know, it's just antisocial, weird behavior. Surely you've had some fans, like, quoting smosh shit.
Yeah, when they're like, shut up! And I'm like, whoa, bro, that was a lot.
I mean, that's pretty much all I'm talking about, but maybe change the word shut up to something worse.
It's the words that we only say by describing.
This guy, people are walking up to him saying the fucking hard R. Is that what he's saying? Wow, that's fucking base, bro. Holy moly. Jesus Christ. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine, like, having that deal with that. Because I think that's what he's referring to, like, saying, like, some fucking sussy boy words, you know? That's crazy, bro. I could not imagine. That's nuts.
The first letter?
Yeah, exactly. Boy, man, what a powerful way of putting it.
But they would hear you ironically using language like that, and then they would throw it back at you unironically.
Yeah. After having enough of those experiences and being like, these are the people that I'm attracting, these are the people that I'm entertaining, like, I need to reevaluate things. They are relating and enjoying this content for a reason, and that's not
based,
maybe
dude.
the same reason that
They
I'm
love it.
trying to make. I had a very Wild West mentality when it came to online behavior. Like, people are going to do what they want to do, people are going to say what they want to say, and I can pretty much do the same because it's the internet, but I think you have to be a lot more responsible.
I mean, I feel like sitting here with you now and seeing who you've become, I mean, you feel like a different person, you feel like a different energy, for lack of a better term.
Oh, I'm a totally different person. all of the cells in my body have...
Bro, I didn't even realize I fucking walked into that. I took 150 fucking damage from that shit.
have changed.
Don't they change every like 7 years?
Yeah. We're coming up on it.
Yo,
We're coming up
you're
on
a
it.
different person entirely.
Yeah. Yes, and my physique's different.
Oh yeah, you care to show off those guns?
We're not going to do that.
Oh, they're gonna have to see the
Yeah,
exclusive
they'll see
pay-per-view
them.
content of you boxing to know what the physique actually looks like under this very well-dressed man.
Oh, thank you.
Some people think that you getting married is what actually entirely changed you.
No, I mean, I got married to Anissa, I want to say, what is that, 5 years into our relationship. Anissa helped me with like a lot of the videos that I think the fans have appreciated the most.
Content cop?
Yeah, a lot of content cops, a lot of other random videos that I am still very proud of. Because I don't often talk about my personal life, I've sort of like disincluded Anissa in, I guess, a lot of the interviews and content that.
Yeah, I could respect that. My wife has been a big part of a lot of my more intelligent takes as well. You know, so based women, am I right?
That I've talked about over the years, and to be honest, that's something that I definitely.
I don't get it though. Who did he expect to pull an audience by saying the N-word? Well, that's the thing, bro. Is that, like I was saying before, like I think that they average. In the real world, people are more edgy than they say that they are, right? Like, they know people are a little edgy, but they mean well. Most people mean well, even in their edginess. On the internet, like, you somehow find but the internet, you find people who might be a little less nice about their edginess, if that makes any sense. And so when you go onto the internet, you'll get people who will be like, oh, I liked when you said this, that, or the other thing. And your interpretation is like, oh, like they're just a little edgy. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And you won't realize that some of these people are actually just kind of bigoted. It's hard to explain, I guess.
Regret, because she's the complete opposite. She's like open book. She'll stream and she'll talk about her entire day. I think a lot of people get angry or frustrated, or they doubt her because they haven't heard it from me. But you know, everything, like, she's my partner. You know, everything that she says, like,
Very
you know,
beautiful.
for the most part, I'm down with. I'm getting to the point where I'm like a lot more comfortable about it. And I think it does more good than harm to just be more of an open book.
You've been very private with the details that you have talked about publicly. Have you ever talked about your childhood? I feel like I haven't really seen much about, you know, how you became iDubbbz. Now I think is the perfect time to talk to you about today's sponsor, Honey, which is the easy way to save when you're shopping on your iPhone.
It's actually the worst time to talk about it, but you know, I'm just being real with you. Hey guys, go check out Honey, sponsored by Anthony Padilla.
Have you ever talked about your childhood? I feel like I haven't really seen much about, you know, how you became iDubbbz.
I grew up in Southern California. I have an older sister. I was raised by a single mother till I was 10-ish. I made a lot of friends with like the weird kids. They're actually not weird. They were guys who were also raised by single mothers. They were a little.
Which makes you fucking weird, okay? I know, because I was raised by a single mother, okay? It's weird. All right?
Bit more, I would say that they just weren't assholes.
Oh, they had some sense of empathy?
Yeah, exactly. I think we related in a lot of ways, but I don't think we realized that it was most likely because we were raised in a single parent household. My dad was in prison, so he came back when I was around 9 or 10. So like he wasn't in my life for a period.
What was it like reconnecting with a parent, you know, bringing them back into your life when they technically were a stranger?
I think the biggest thing is just like how different fathers want to raise their sons.
Well, it was like, come on, we're going to go throw the pigskin, son.
That kind of shit.
Was it a lot of,
amplify
like,
that maybe a little bit.
How amplified did it get?
Gender role type shit and like an idea of how men need to be. And, you know, being raised by a single mother, like I didn't really fit a lot of those norms or those ideas. Chores is a good example. Like, what does a guy do for chores versus a woman? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, take out the trash.
Oh.
Yeah. I take out the trash. I'll go shopping sometimes if my wife needs me to, like I did today. I went to Costco in the supermarket. You know, I've been trying to do the dishes more. That's what chores you do. I know those aren't like typical gender roles or whatever. But like I feel like who cares? Like we're just at a point where just like do chores, like help out around the house. Like don't develop resentment in your fucking partner, especially now that women are expected to fucking work. You know what I mean? Like you can do some chores. It's not that big of a deal. You know? There's like a lot of guys who just want to find like they basically just want to date their mom. Okay? Just date your mom then, you know.
Because men are gross.
Because they're gross.
They love rolling around in
they
shit.
stink.
Facts.
True.
What
I like
else?
The yard work, because they get in the dirt.
It's also dangerous.
Oh,
in
it's
the
dangerous.
yard.
I fucking hate yard work. I pay somebody to do it. I don't care. Like I hate it so much. Like I fucking hate yard work, okay? I don't understand why people like it. It's not I don't enjoy it, okay? Who enjoys doing fucking yard work? I'm not fucking Hank Hill. Oh my god, I'm getting my shit pushed. I'm not fucking Hank Hill, you know what I mean? Who the fuck enjoys that shit? It's weird. Weirdos. So.
Yeah.
You know, Pete, you can get stolen, kidnapped.
Oh yeah.
Who
True.
knows? But if you're a man, you're not going to get kidnapped. Impossible.
No one wants to human traffic you.
Yeah, because you got a dick.
That's right.
Andrew Tate.
And balls. One memory that I had, I liked reptiles. I liked animals growing up.
Yeah,
I like
you're into
dinosaurs a
amphibians
lot.
and shit.
Yeah, amphibians.
Yeah.
My dad and I went to a reptile store, but like I was kind of thinking maybe I wanted a snake, but it had like a little cute nose. It was all, it wasn't one of those like evil fucking diamond-shaped heads
Right.
that look like they're gonna fucking snap you. And I was like, that one's pretty cool. But my dad was there. There was a little pressure there to get the snake that my dad was vibing with a little
Oh, the
bit more.
scarier one.
The one that was like, maybe a few feet longer.
Yeah.
It was a little bit bigger around. So of course we got that one.
Yeah.
And we had that snake in my room.
you were just like scared of it in the corner.
I mean, pretty much. The top of the enclosure was just like essentially a screen door.
Yeah.
That just like kind of pressed in, and this snake was big. So that sucker would just push that screen door open and just leave at will. And one time,
Bro, I would literally... There's no way. I'd put like 7 rocks on top of the snake. What are you doing? It just would leave? And what, cuddle with you? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Are you kidding me? That's insane. I would kill the snake. I feel like snakes might taste decent, though. Like, do you think like snake would taste like kind of good? Like snake? Because I had like python jerky one time. I think it was python jerky. I got mako shark. I think it was snake. And turtle? Snapping turtle? I got it when I went to Florida. It was kind of cool. Anyway.
it was out of the cage, and it wrapped itself around the bottom like leg of the dresser that was on. So there was like a situation where it was like, okay, I'm lifting up the dresser so my dad can go in there and get the snake. My dad gets bitten while he's under there. I'm shocked, so I like dropped the dresser, which wasn't a great reaction. But yeah, he exploded on me, and like it didn't really, definitely made me feel bad.
I mean, I would have too, honestly. If you dropped a fucking dresser on me, yeah, no shit.
For reacting the way that I did. And that was like, that was a memory that I had because it was just very, it was a lot. And it was like with a thing that I didn't even want to be friends with, the snake, there was a disconnect there.
What about your living situation growing up?
We lived in a trailer park for the first,
Nice.
like, I don't know, I guess 7 or 8 years.
People, I feel like trailer parks are underrated. Trailer parks aren't that bad. It's pretty cool. You have a trailer. They're not bad. It's generally less expensive. And like they're not that bad. Like if you've ever been in one, they're pretty roomy and spacious, The only problem is it depends on where the trailer park is, right? So like in New York, it might be a little trashier. The women certainly are. I remember interacting with a woman from a trailer park, and it's not bad though. I mean, like, nothing wrong with trashy women, frankly. I mean, I'm personally, I'm a fan. I don't know. There's something about trashy women that's kind of gets me going. But
When my dad got out of prison,
I like a good trashy, educated woman.
When we were able to like move into a proper house. My mom had a lot to deal with, but it amazes me that like she was able to be a single mom with a husband that she's still like, in contact with and like, occasionally visiting in prison and raising 2 kids. It's like, I get worried about getting like a second dog.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
You mentioned to me that some people talk shit about you and they're like, trailer park, this and that. You're like,
ooh,
literally.
trailer park.
I mean, it's true. I don't like
Silly trailer park
I guess
boys. Pretty good
necessarily
show.
identify it with it too much because it's like, I don't know. I blot a lot of that out in my memory, and I also don't interpret it as bad as it maybe was. That's something that Anise has gone to like therapy a number of times, and she says to me like, it could be like a lot worse than because when people have trauma and people have like bad experiences, like especially in childhood, you just don't remember it, and a lot of times your brain needs to do that to survive.
Yeah, it's so funny because my wife tells me that. Like, she thinks I might have. I don't think so, but she thinks so. She's like, sometimes she'll say, like, I feel like I don't really know you. Because we'll talk about stuff and, like, you just won't really, dude, what the fuck? And you won't really, like, talk, Like, and she knows me very well, but, like, I guess there's some things. It's like, maybe you have something, like, And then when I do talk about something, I laugh about it. Like, I laugh about when, like, my house was broken into when I was, like, 12 years old. Because somebody was, like looking for my aunt, and he broke into the house. He's like, "Where is she?" And he went upstairs, and it was a little scary, but I kind of laughed about it. Like, what are you gonna do, bro? Is the life sad? You know, because I don't know, if I did suppress it, then like that's my body just doing its fucking job. You know what I'm saying? Like, my body did its job. I don't need to know about it. Why do I need to bring that fucking memory back up? You know? You know what I mean? Who gives a shit? Fuck that.
So
Yeah, literally, that's all the coping mechanisms that we develop as children are to make those experiences not feel traumatic, even though they might sit with us for the rest of our life.
Hey, if you don't remember it, it can't be traumatic, baby.
But that's all. You don't have to cry and shit.
yeah, no thanks.
Crying is
don't
good.
cry.
Don't cry.
I've hit a point recently where I cry a lot more often.
Okay.
Some really weird shit too. We watched the Puss in Boots movie.
And that hit you?
I cried like probably 3 different times in it.
Why are you more open to crying now?
Gaining empathy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you always.
It's probably because he's on test boosters for his fights, and because you're on, but he's not taking like estrogen suppressants, because when you put your test up, you actually also produce more estrogen because like it's a balance in the body, and so he's crying more because he's a woman, he's basically just a woman, fucking crying. Oh my god, I'm getting my shit pushed right now. Oh dude, I'm eating actual penis right now. That's probably what it is more than anything else. Based science, am I right? Based science.
Had it, you just shut it off.
I mean, that might be a good way of putting it. It's hard to tell because I haven't, I haven't self-reflected too much on it. Being that way, being avoidant and not, sharing feelings or thoughts and hoarding them has led to like a lot of missed business opportunities, a lot of missed personal connections. I'm trying to get better at it.
Maybe you can relate to this, but my mother being a single mother and seeing her feel so overwhelmed all the time, I didn't want to add to that. And what does that mean? That means not expressing your emotions and convincing yourself that you don't feel any emotions. But
it's interesting because my mom never came off as like overwhelmed in any capacity. My mom was a single mom and she raised me. She worked like 50 or 60 hours a week and she never showed any weakness, which is probably why I try not to show weakness. You know what I mean? Based mom, am I right? Best mom in the world. Your mom's a nerd for being overwhelmed. Like, get over it, loser. Pick up by your bootstraps. Am I right, guys? Sounds like a skill issue to me. That's what I'm saying. So
now that I've gotten better, through years of therapy and changing my perspective about where emotions actually go, it's allowed me to see things a lot more clearly. These are emotions that I was hiding away. They're all tucked away neatly behind walls. And
which is kind of true sometimes. Like for some reason when I get sad, I get a little worked up. I don't know what it is. Like I remember years ago, my dog died. His name was Ziggy. I love that dog, And, I love the other dog too. His name was Czar. But there's like Ziggy was like my dog, right? And he passed away. And I remember being so sad. I actually cried. I had to take a day off of work because I was so sad, like unironically. And I remember being sad in my room, and I was thinking, I'm like, I'm kind of, I could be ready to go, and I'm like, is it too soon? My dog just died like today. But I still did, I still jerked it, within a few hours of putting him down, and it was a stress release. So, but it's just because I was sad. Like, how else am I supposed to release my stress, That's all I'm saying. I feel like it's healthy, right? Nothing wrong with it. Oh.
Once I started dismantling these walls, I'm able to get a much better perception of the things in front of me.
Yeah, I that's a great way of putting it. Like having a much clearer view and, not having those thoughts influence kind of everything that you do and everything you interact with.
And it seems like those are some of the feelings that you were feeling while creating the content that was a little bit more aggressive. It was almost a way for you to express some of those emotions that you had blocked away that you didn't know that you felt about your life at the time.
And I think that's in a big way why I wanted to move away from it. It's like, oh, some of these things have been a little bit more addressed, or I can, my view is a little bit wider now and the world is a little bit more complicated. Maybe going back to that comment I said earlier, just being a little bit more confident, or being less confident in sort of the bad habits or things that I've developed over the years, whether it be through trauma or anything else.
Why did you get into YouTube when you first started getting into YouTube?
My whole goal, to be honest, was just make it enough to live on. I just did not want a normal job. That was I think that's a lot of people's incentive. It's like, God, do I not want to, I worked at The Gap.
So you know how to fold a good shirt?
No, they let me go. It was seasonal work.
That's the worst part, bro. Like when you go to the store, this is why I don't buy clothing. Because I'll go to the store and I'm ready to buy something, and then I go to buy it, or I try a shirt on, I hold it up to me, and obviously I'm obese, so like it doesn't really work out. So I gotta fold it back up, and they do such a beautiful job at it, and I just kind of throw it. I don't know what to do with it. It's embarrassing. This is why men can't go shopping by themselves, you know?
You got fired from the Gap?
I wouldn't say it's fired. They said,
oh, let go.
Let go because we're done with the holiday season. We don't need you anymore. But if I was a good employee, they would have kept me. The second job was Legoland. And while I was working at Legoland, like I had that job on lock. It was cool. It was just like a standard job. I wanted just like a basic job. I didn't want to be like let go because it was the end of the season or whatever.
So you found a really secure job?
Yeah, super secure. They loved hiring like newly, like either high schoolers or like newly graduated. So I was perfect for the role. I worked really hard doing videos while doing that, and to the point where I could quit. And it happened pretty quickly because you don't need to do too much on YouTube to beat a job that's paying you like $8 an hour. I was going to school as well, college. I had like a finance professor. I was like failing this finance class.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, yeah, so I know my grade's low, but I'm going to Australia to make some videos with my friends. So I'm gonna miss a couple of these classes. It was my second time taking the class.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Because you already failed the first time?
Yeah. It was so bad. And the second time around wasn't much better at all. But then he was like inquiring about like what I was doing in Australia, like why this was a big deal. Like he wanted to see.
He wanted to know why. He's like, this better be good.
Yeah. I showed him this fucking video of us doing is a video called Deadly Twister. We are all in like Where's
And what do you say? Quit your job, like quit school and just do that?
Waldo costumes.
Yeah.
And we're like stepping in spaghetti and putting our fingers in mouse traps and shit.
Wow.
It was super bizarre.
You're like, my professor's gonna love it.
I needed to show him something that had like good views on it or something.
Oh yeah, you're like, that justifies it.
Yeah, I just like, I need to show him the legitimacy of it.
Oh, yeah.
I kept scrolling and was like, you know, like, hey, like, look at this, like views, like this is important, right? Like this is my job. You'd give other people time off if it was their job. He didn't really get it, but he had like a curiosity about like, I wonder what like the young kids are doing these days.
Yeah.
And you know, I was one of the young kids these days.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, neat. Like it kind of felt like he was happy that I was willing to share something with him.
Yeah, he was probably happy that like, you know, you weren't going to be fucked when you inevitably failed the class because you were taking it again, which is, hey, respectable, you know? It's respectable stuff.
Because he was very fuddy-duddy finance professor, and no one considered him like, you know, like a professor they could chill and hang out with.
No one tried to connect.
Yeah,
that makes
so I
sense,
was like,
though.
kind of fortunate. Like, I think that's why I ended up getting a passing grade, because I was at least giving him a window into my life. And then I think when I came back, I had shaved eyebrows, a shaved head.
Right. You put it all in the line. You sacrificed
Yeah.
your entire physical appearance for that video.
Yeah, that's easy though. It's hard for you. You're a pretty boy.
Yeah, no, I can't get away with that. That's literally, you invited me to be part of Creator Clash, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in boxing. Real reason, I gotta protect the goods.
Yeah.
I'm not about to get my face
Oh,
decimated.
dude, it kind of looks hot though.
Is it hot?
When you have,
Whoa.
like, you have to have the appropriate amount of damage. Like, if you got a black eye,
Yeah.
you look so hard.
Kind of sexy. It's like, he's
Yeah.
seen some
You don't want to
shit.
get swollen though.
No. That's you don't want to change the shape of the face.
Doesn't
You
that
just want
usually
some
happen anyway, though?
accents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some cuts.
Yeah, that video that you made right afterwards where you had two black eyes. I was like, you know, this iDubbbz
Shit, I wish I had two black guys right here, right now. Damn.
guy
kinda hot.
kind of looking a little sexy, if I do say so.
I did not look good in that video.
But you had
I
some
looked
battle
rank.
rings, bro.
I look like a fucking, like a Navi, like an avatar creature. I honestly think if you got into boxing, you'd love it.
I mean, I've done.
Bro, I can't believe that he just said something that's like anti-indigenous. I look like an avatar creature. You realize that those are based off of like indigenous people? Are you mocking indigenous Americans here, bro? Doesn't want to talk about it. iDubbbz pretends that he's like better and reformed, but this guy's just as big as ever, dude.
Some boxing classes and really enjoyed it. And I could definitely see the allure. But I have a question. Who would you have put me up against if I had said, yes, that sounds great, I'd love to get hit in the face?
So what we usually do is we would get your height and your weight, and then we would find someone near your height and your weight.
5'11", 175.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we would pitch opponents to you.
Odd ones out, I could take it.
James definitely wants to fight. So like,
Really?
Yeah, that could, if you wanted it, we could definitely make that happen for next year, hands down.
I'm not committing right now,
That's fine.
but
You have to be confident about who you're fighting.
I feel pretty confident
Yeah.
about taking James out.
That's
Who's James? Like the
I
kid
like
in the giant
that.
peach? Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just putting a little seed out there. We'll see what happens
Oh,
with it.
that's good.
We'll see what happens.
Wow.
I'm not getting into
Anthony,
mindset.
Respect.
I'm just putting a seed.
Respect,
Hey, that makes it look official. It was just a seed.
All right.
We'll see what happens.
I like a seed because that's it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I never wanted to do this shit. Ricegum called me out to box in 2018, and I said no, or I didn't say anything because I didn't want to look like a.
You're not gonna say no,
Yeah.
not publicly.
Right. Enough time had passed, and I had gained enough confidence myself, and became comfortable with the idea that I was like, oh yeah, of course, I will destroy him. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way. I was paired up with Dr. Mike.
When you went out there to fight with Dr. Mike, you were the headliner.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't just put together a boxing match with creators and, you know, watch from the sidelines and reap the benefit. I mean, there's two things there. It was for charity, which was amazing. You raised over $1 million.
And I have to say that a lot of people give me a lot of credit for putting this event together. Anissa is like the big brain behind it all, and she does a lot. She does, you know, most of the work with the other fighters. She finds coaches for people. Boxing coaches are like notoriously hard to work with because they're tough. They, you know, you ask any, you know, boxing coach, hey, we plan on doing this creator boxing event, and they're gonna think you're a total joke. Like, no, like boxing isn't a game. You can't just take it up casually. Honestly.
Well, kind of seems like it nowadays. Seems like it seems like the UFC is displacing boxing, and now the only people left boxing are, you know, YouTubers. Honestly, I'm sure it's like some hard shit. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just mean like with the UFC there. I mean, seems like much harder shit than boxing. It's much more technical. At least that's what it looks like. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but I feel like, you know, it seems less safe. I mean, the padding on those gloves is substantially less, and you can use like your knees and shit. I don't think that they put padding on their knees, right? And so like it seems like boxing is kind of going in the way of like you know, non-boxing entertainers being the ones that are boxing more than anything else. I guess I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like.
Like Anissa doesn't get enough credit for how much she does for the whole show.
Were you expecting people to want to come back the next year after this?
Not at all. I thought everyone who lost would definitely not want to come back. People who won might want to do it, but what ended up happening was pretty much everyone except Michael Reeves and Graham Stephan wanted to come back.
How is this year's Creator Clash going to be different than last year's?
All of the fighters have had much more time to prepare. We've made sure that every fighter has a legit coach. We have more female fights. We have 3 female fights, and they're in 3 different weight classes.
How do you think the training, the physical training, has translated to, you know, mental, emotional, internal states?
I had like so many cool boxing content ideas. And now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, you don't have time or energy to do anything other than boxing. There's just like a lot of things that I've had to learn along the way. Like my coach is a tough ass guy. You know, he's got a little of the toxic male qualities, and it's made it hard sometimes because, you know, the way he talks to me sometimes, I could be a little bit sensitive to it. So that's like led to a couple times where I've just been like kind of broke down. If you have like a bad sparring session, it's like that alone feels bad. But if you're getting your shit kicked in and your coach is like exuding their disappointment to you the whole time while it's happening, it's like, I just kind of suck. He's gotten a lot better at it, and it's really not his fault. Like that's literal, and Anissa's told me that. She's like, that is the most normal thing. You're not gonna find a coach that's gonna fucking take care of your feelings, bitch. Like, and I'm like, okay, I understand.
Well, in a sense, they're almost preparing you for those feelings, right?
Exactly.
But they're gonna come up, especially if you are losing in a fight.
I would just say that maybe it's given me more confidence just in life. That obviously comes from, you know, being able to defend myself, and also just knowing that it's like a sport, because sometimes I'll get really down on myself. It just feels weird, right? Because you're like your sparring partners in boxing, like they're your friends, but you also have to do well against them, and you have to hurt them. Sometimes I'll grapple with that a little bit, where it's like, oh, I don't like. Can we play more? Do we have to box, or can we just like tap each other? And it's like, no, we have to box. We have to hurt each other.
You have to treat it like it's the actual scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel like this conversation today, this interview, would be different if you had never gotten into the boxing stuff?
Yeah, it would be. I think I'd be less vulnerable in general. And I'd say Anissa has been very like instrumental. I think most guys can say that about their partners, is like they're going to have insight that you cannot have about yourself. You have to like be able to stand them and not like leave the situation.
Right.
I'm avoiding, I'll just leave. I don't have to face it. But with my partner that I want to like continue this relationship with, they hold the mirror up and they say, this is like, this thing that you're doing or whatever, it's very ugly. You might want to think about that.
Do you want to get into what's next? What other plans you have outside of Creator Clash? Do you want to tease anything?
I love making videos, and I don't want to like stop making videos.
Doesn't he just like have like a podcast thing that he doesn't really run anymore on his channel? Isn't that what it is? Like some other guy? It's interesting. I'm just saying, isn't that what he does now?
But continuing to box and make videos is so hard. So I definitely need to like choose one or the other. Maybe I could, do videos for a year, take a break and do some boxing. My general focus is making videos and just kind of a return to form a little bit. Obviously like leaving all the things that I wasn't a fan of or have grown to like really not like over time. Leaving that behind and, you know, at least keeping some of, you know, what makes the iDubbbz channel the iDubbbz channel. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to figure that out. Hopefully with time, like people will be like, oh yeah, he does that sort of thing now. And that interests me. If it doesn't interest some people, then, you know, RIP.
What brings you the most joy?
I think making content with people who I enjoy being around, like my wife, Anissa. It checks a lot of boxes. I think working with other people is amazing. I think it's really undervalued. I think everyone wants to, you know, work at home alone because they're just so used to like kind of being forced to have these interactions. But when you love the people that you're around, it's so awesome to do more things with them. Creator clashes, like I never would have fucking dreamed that we'd do something like this.
Yeah.
Boxing, it's strange. I at least thought that we would have done it for money. It fucks with me every time I think about it. I'm like, I don't box. What the hell is this?
You get to create content, which you love doing. You get to bring people together, and you get to do something fulfilling in the sense that you're raising money for charity.
Yeah, and I think old me, I don't think realized that reality was possible. I wouldn't have thought that like you can do like have that much good in like entertainment. It's cool. I don't know. I like it.
You know, that's what some people would call meditation.
Yeah.
When you're in that kind of state of overexertion while clearing your mind.
Oh, no, not overexertion. I love to just check out just randomly. Maybe like when I'm driving.
Oh, that's called dissociation. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think about driving a car into the barrier all the time, actually. Not sometimes. I constantly have intrusive thoughts. But I don't act on them, baby! Okay. Interesting video. It seems like iDubbbz really likes his wife a lot, which is cool. I can respect that. Even if it's a little cringe and gay. Like, who respects their wife? Am I right, guys? Not me. I don't love my wife at all. So, good video, though.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.